What happens when we cough or sneeze without covering our mouths? How far do sneezes travel? In today's assignment, we are going to create a mathematical model of a sneeze to see how far the droplets in a sneeze travel. We all know that sneezes can carry infectious diseases like common colds and the flu and coronavirus. So even doctors are very interested in how far the droppings from your nose and mouth can travel when you sneeze or cough. For example, two mathematicians from MIT wrote a mathematical equation to predict and describe the path of a sneeze. They made mathematical models, which are predictive equations that try to tell us how certain things behave. To do so, they incorporated a branch of physics called fluid dynamics, which is about how fluids move. Because snot and spit are fluids! And these scientists accounted for gases, as well as larger particles of spittle in 3 dimensions. The team then tested these predictions by actually filming and observing sneezes using a high-speed camera and computer imaging software. That project focused primarily on the gases and small particles, I'm talking about less than 0.1 millimeters, in a sneeze, showing that the small particles can become suspended or buoyant within a sneeze cloud, enabling them to travel great distances. However, larger sneeze particles behave a bit differently. In today's experiment, you're going to simulate a sneeze, and you're going to look for those larger sneeze particles and document how far those travel. Using the data from your sneeze simulation, you will create a histogram of the number of sneeze droplets that fall at various distances from the sneezer. What's a histogram? Well, a histogram is a type of graph that represents how often an event occurs over fixed intervals. I'm talking about distance and time. Do you remember that big plane that we made for our acceleration project a couple of days ago, where you put the sheets of paper together and then marked 1-inch increments? If you still have that, you can use it again for this experiment. But if you threw it out, let's make a new one. This one can be a little shorter. So as you see here, I've got only 6 sheets of paper taped together, and this time they're horizontal wise, so the wider section is out. Then I've set my tape measure up again, and I'm going to mark 1-inch increments all over it. Okay, you can see what that looks like. All right, now you have to think about what you're going to sneeze with. Now, obviously, you're a human being, and it's almost impossible for you to sneeze on demand, so I don't expect you to do that. Instead, you're going to make your own sneezer. And there are 2 ways that you could do this. You have 2 options. The first option, I think, is the easiest. That's where you just take a juice box, like a Capri Sun would be perfect, like one of those pouches. Go ahead and keep it full, stick the straw in it, and you know how sometimes when you squeeze it, the liquid will erupt out of the straw? That's kind of what you're hoping for. So if you have a juice box, go ahead and get it set up, but don't squeeze it yet. If you don't have a juice box, you're going to have to fashion your own sneezer. And one way that you could do that is with a balloon and a straw. And you see I've tied the straw inside of the balloon with a rubber band. So I'll show you how to do that real quick. This is option number 2. If you have a juice box, that's probably better. Okay, so take a straw and cut it into about a 4-inch segment. Doesn't have to be perfect. And then in the lip of your balloon, just go ahead and insert the straw a short way. And what you're going to eventually do is put some liquid in the balloon, and you'll squeeze out through the straw so it's more directed. But a problem is that there's so much space between the straw and the balloon itself that the liquid might come out here instead of the straw. So to fix that, take a rubber band, and you could probably do it with tape too if you're not good with a rubber band. But take a rubber band and put it over there, and then twist it around a couple of times so that it secures the straw in the balloon. Only thing is, you don't want to twist it so many times that it pinches the straw and closes it up, because remember, we need the liquid to flow through. Okay, look at that. You see there's no air gap around the straw where it's inside of the balloon. That's exactly what you're looking for. And it's also not so tight that the straw is pinched. The idea is that you're going to sneeze onto your paper here and mark how far it goes in inches. That's why we put those numbers on there. So you're going to need some kind of a liquid that shows up on the white paper. If you're using a juice box, you probably want like a fruit punch or a dark color like that. I don't have my juice box, so I'm going to use red Gatorade. And you're going to have to somehow get it inside of your balloon if this is what you're using instead of your juice box. So you could use a funnel to get it through the straw into the balloon, or you could put it in your mouth and regurgitate it like this is a little baby bird and you're the mother feeding it, and just like push it through the straw into the balloon. That's what I'm gonna do. That had to be done. Notice it's not completely full. You just want enough in there so that when you smack it, it's going to shoot some out. Now go ahead and set up your sneeze histogram. So this is your chart. And go ahead and put an XY axis. On the bottom, label it distance in inches. And on the side, number of sneeze drops. And you can see that I put it in a scale down here of 5. So 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45. And those are the distances in inches. And then for my sneeze drops, I did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, all the way up to 12. I don't know exactly how many I'll need, so I just sort of set it up, and I can change it later if I need to. Okay, we're just about ready to sneeze, but I think you already know this is gonna get messy. Right? We're just shooting juice everywhere. So I don't think you want to do this inside. I think you want to take it someplace outside that you don't mind getting messy. And while you're at it, you might want to change into some clothes that you don't mind getting some juice stains on, because I bet you are going to get some stains on your clothes. This is what my setup looks like. I'm actually noticing that I only have 5 sheets of paper there. I made an error. I wish it were longer. I should have added another piece, but I'm going to go with what I have. Then what you want to do is set up a trash can or something that you can put it upside down and then put your balloon or your juice box on top of. And see how the straw is just over the lip of it, just peeking out of it. That's about where you want it. When you're ready to sneeze, just go ahead and whack your balloon. 3, 2, 1. All right, and keep doing it as many times as you want to so that you can get some sneezes spread across your paper. You can see I've already gotten a few big droplets on there. I think I'm going to do another few test runs though. Achoo! 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 Look at that. Now I got some big ones there. Okay, I'm ready to move on. You're just sort of noticing how far the sneeze traveled. And you see the biggest droplets are probably going to be near the front, but if you keep looking on, you can find them even as far down, or I don't know how far it will go for you. But for me, mine went really far down here. Okay, now I've encountered an interesting problem here, because my chart is set up for me to write down how many sneeze droplets went each number of inches. But when I look at this here, so many of these are just huge blobs, where you have to assume that these are like large drops that have accumulated together to form one huge blob. So now I have to kind of estimate how many are in a huge blob. So from 1 to 5 inches, this section here, let me just say that this is 10 large droplets, okay? So for this here, from the 5-inch mark, I'm going to go up to 10 droplets, and that will be my bar for that. All right, so now let me go from 5 inches to 10 inches. That's this area here. And look, this is fewer. This is a smaller blob. So let's say that's like 7, I guess. I'll take this up to 7. The line that says 7. 10 to 15 inches. This area here, we're back to a huge blob, so I'm going to go back up to 10. Same as the first 5 inches. 15 to 20 inches. This area here, 15 to 20. There's like a big blob here, but then not much between 18 and 20. So let's say that's about six big droplets combined. All right, 20 to 25, this area here, not a whole lot going on here. We still have some big droplets, but nothing compared to this. So let's say that's like 3 big droplets. 25 to 30, this area here. Okay, even less, so let's say that's 2 big droplets. I'm just estimating, okay? If you are thinking of a different number and that works for you, go ahead and do it as long as it sort of makes sense. There's these little guys here. I'll combine them and there'll be 1 big droplet because they're just 2 little droplets now. Here's a finished look at my histogram. And you can see for every 5 inches, I kind of estimated the number of big droplets. And you can see it was really big up front, went down a little, came right back up, and then gradually went down, 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 where just little droplets were making it to 45 inches. So for my particular sneeze that I did with my balloon, and yours might be different with your juice box or with your mouth, this is pretty accurate for what happened with mine. The biggest majority of the germs and stuff were in the first 20 inches. And then after that, it just sort of dwindled down. But if you were 45 inches away from me as I sneezed, you still might have gotten a little droplet on you. There's still a chance that you could have gotten sick. What pattern does your histogram show? And when you conclude from that information, how far would you like to be from a sneezing or coughing person?